but that's not necessarily the case, okay? Yes, they can be drying because their whole point is to get those extra oils out of your hair as well as your scalp. Hey guys, welcome back. I want to say what's up to all the subbies and up to all the newbies checking me out. Maybe for the first time, maybe for the second. It's okay. Doesn't matter how many times. Come on in. We're going to chit chat just for a little bit, okay? Just for a teeny weeny bit, okay? So if you guys are all caught up and familiar with last week's video, we've been talking, well, last week's and the week before, we've been talking about shampoos, okay? Because we're building this regimen brick by brick. So we've been talking about shampoos and some of the shampoos that we need to be looking out for to take care of our textured hair, whether it be natural or relaxed, okay? So we touched on the moisturizing shampoos. We touched on clarifying shampoos, okay? And we had a lot of good responses. We got a lot of good suggestions. So if you want to catch up with that, you may want to check that out. I have the links below, okay? But a lot of good responses, a lot of amens for Kenra as well. Kenra, we were chit-chatting about Kenra here and there, but we had quite a few witnesses that testified on behalf of Kenra and all its goodness, okay? So again, you may want to check those out as far as the moisturizing shampoos and the clarifying shampoos. And today we're just going to touch on normal shampoos. And when I say normal, I mean like an everyday shampoo, a shampoo that's not specifically formulated or touted as moisturizing or anything specific. It's considered like a regular everyday shampoo, okay? And there are so many to name that we're not going to name a whole bunch of them. There's so many good products out there. As far as an everyday shampoo, I'm sure you already have an everyday shampoo that you know and that you love and that you use. We know that for the normal shampoos, if you have dry hair, you want a moisturizing shampoo, okay? And for fine hair, you want something that's not going to weigh your hair down. And when I say fine, I mean the actual strands of your hair, the actual diameter of your hair. You know, there's fine hair and then there's thick hair. We're all talking about the diameter, okay? Not thinness, okay? Which usually refers to the loss of hair or not as much hair. We're talking about quantity at that point. But fine hair, we're talking about the diameter. So again, with fine hair, you want shampoos that are not going to add too much weight to your hair. And with normal, you want something that's going to be nourishing and maintain the moisture in your hair. So it's all about a careful balance, okay? It's all about a careful balance. And this is foreshadowing what I'm gonna talk about later, because it really is about balance. No matter what you choose, what shampoo you choose, you want something that is really going to nourish your hair, no matter what. There should be a moisture component to it, i.e. nourishing, but you want something that is well suited for your hair as well. And it's all about balance. You know, for me, my everyday shampoo, even though I don't shampoo every day, but I'm just saying normal shampoo, you know, for me it's Theory, okay? I use Theory shampoos and I love them. So my whole thing with my regimen is that I have a moisturizing shampoo and I have a normal shampoo, okay? And Theory, I more so consider a normal shampoo, even though it is moisturizing. That's not what it's touted as. At least not the one that I have, okay? So I just want to make that small distinction. It's not a huge deal. But again, I just wanted to talk about the shampoos, okay? And more so, being that we're not going to get into the names of everyday shampoos, because like I said, I'm sure you have one. I want to break down this whole sulfate thing, okay? Sulfates and being sulfate free, because I know for a lot of us, that's what we look for, okay? A lot of us have been looking for sulfate free shampoos because we believe that that's better than sulfate shampoos, okay? So we're going to break that down just a little bit. And it's a little bit about preference, but I just want to get that out there so that you don't feel, my whole thing is that we don't fear these things, okay? Unless there is a reason, okay? So basically, sulfates are surfactants. Surfactant is a cleaning agent, okay? A cleansing agent. So sulfates, that's what makes different products as far as household products, even some toothpastes, you know, it's in toothpaste, anything that foams up or lathers, that's usually involving a sulfate, okay? Because that's what sulfates do. They lather up and they attract oil, and for specifically shampoos, they attract oil and dead skin from your scalp, and they basically get rid of all of that for you. So with that being said, sulfates are very helpful, okay? Sulfates are the cleansing agents that are in a lot of shampoos that can be very helpful. So in the world of sulfates, there are three main ones that pop up over and over again, especially in the shampoos. You have sodium lauryl sulfate, you have sodium laureth sulfate, and you have ammonium laureth sulfate. And out of these three, they sort of have levels to their strength or harshness, if you will, okay? And that's where the whole concern comes in. And the whole eagle eye comes in as far as looking at which sulfate is in what product that you use. Okay, so out of these three, the mildest one would be ammonium laureth sulfate, okay? And then comes the sodium laureth sulfate. And then the stronger of the three would be sodium lauryl sulfate. So to break that down even further, laureth is going to be milder than lauryl, okay? Anything with laureth in it is going to be milder or more gentler than lauryl. And ammonium is milder than sodium. So whenever you see ammonium in lieu of sodium, as far as prefix of the surfactant, if it begins with ammonium, it's going to be milder than any surfactant or sulfate that begins with sodium. So ammonium is milder than sodium, and laureth is milder than lauryl. So now that we got that out of the way, sulfate-free shampoos, they're just as they say, they don't deal with sulfates, but in lieu of the sulfates, they deal with other surfactants that are a little milder, but at the same time, you probably would have to work harder with them as far as they don't lather as well. And you may have to really put some elbow grease to really get your hair clean or get that clean feeling a lot more than what you would with a sulfate, okay? And some of the sulfate-free surfactants, there are some that are made from coconuts. They're called cocoa betaines, okay? And again, they're derived from coconut. You can sort of gather that from the name, cocoa. But cocoa betaines, and as well, the one that I see most often is, hold on to your britches, this is a long one, disodium laureth sulfosuccinate. I hope I'm saying that correctly, but I'm going to repeat it for all the people in the back. Disodium laureth sulfosuccinate. So that in particular, I do see a lot. And it's, again, it's not a sulfate, but rather it's a surfactant that's supposed to be gentler, okay, than a normal sulfate, okay? And this one has a little more lather. It gives you a little more lather than some other options, sulfate-free options. So when you're considering sulfate and sulfate-free, really, sulfate should not be too scary to you, okay? Because it's all about the combination. It's all about the formula in the shampoo itself. I've been quite surprised sometimes when I've used a shampoo and I noticed that, you know, it was very moisturizing, this and that, but it had a sulfate in it, a full-fledged sulfate. So it really does depend on the formula and the company getting that formula right, that whole mixture right, as opposed to just the ingredient sulfate to be scared of. And plus, we are conditioning our hair after we shampoo our hair, correct? Hello, we are conditioning our hair after we shampoo, right? So with that being said, sulfates don't necessarily leave our hair high and dry, okay, just because they're a sulfate. They can be very good, and in combination with a lot of other ingredients, it can sort of balance that whole thing out and not have your hair feel dry as the Sahara, okay, and strip it. Now, with that being said, there are some sulfates that people are sensitive to. You know, they can have an irritation to it, and they notice that, okay, I do not do well with this particular sulfate. So at that point, of course, you would want a sulfate-free shampoo. If you notice any type of irritation or any type of redness or extra flakiness because you're using a sulfate shampoo, you may want to switch to a sulfate-free shampoo. And also this whole thing about color, okay? So people with color, they more so lean towards sulfate-free shampoos because they believe that it will basically ensure that their hair color lasts longer. And a lot of that is true, okay? But again, it depends on the mixture. It depends on the mixture and the expertise of the company, as well as the whole balancing act of the formulation of the shampoo. Because there are some shampoos that have sulfates in them and they do well with color treated hair. But to err on the side of caution, a lot of people, they just stick to the sulfate free, especially if they have dye or color in their hair. They just feel like that is safer, and there's nothing wrong with that. So the conclusion is basically your hair, your choice, okay? Whatever you feel is best for your hair, whether it's sulfate free, okay, or whether you're okay with using sulfates. My whole thing is that do not throw the whole baby away with the bathwater just because it has a sulfate in it. If you've been using a shampoo and then you find out it has a sulfate in it, meanwhile, it's been doing well for your hair, you're getting the shine and the bounce and the this and the that, pump your brakes. It's been working for you. There's no need to throw it out and switch, okay? Whatever's working for you, stick to it, okay? Stick to it, because not everything applies to everybody. You know that's what we teach around here, okay? And it's about preference. Your regimen, your products, your preference, okay? So if you prefer, and that's been working for you, sulfate-free shampoos, stick to it. If you prefer the shampoo that you're using and it happens to have a sulfate in it, stick to it, okay? I don't want anyone to get nervous just because there's a sulfate in it and you hear that sulfates are bad. We're not doing that. We're not going to be panicking about everything. We are going to stick to the products that work for us, and it's an individual choice. So your hair, your choice, okay? So the products that you are gathering for your regimen for 2021, be sure to look at the ingredients. If anything is not working out, but if it's working for you, then it's working for you, okay? But I just wanted to break down that whole sulfate thing just so that we can be aware of what we are putting on our hair, and also be aware of all the chit chat and making sure of taking what applies for us, just for us, you know what I mean? And not have this blanket statement or blanket view that all sulfates are bad, because they're not. I have quite a few shampoos that have sulfates in them and I love them, okay? And then there's quite a few that have no sulfates, and they have the alternative, the disodium alternative that I mentioned earlier. The long one, the long word, one with the long and all the syllables. Disodium lauryl sulfosinate. Disodium lauryl sulfofo. Oh, that one. I have that. In fact, I think that's in haircare, the moisturizing shampoo. So you can really mix and match, but again, it's all about the formula. And plus, we are conditioning after we shampoo. It's all about the formula. It's all about the concentration. okay? It's all about the balancing act as far as all of these ingredients that is really going to bode well for your hair. And remember, it's not just the sulfates too. It's everything that you do after the shampooing that can affect either the color of your hair or add to the dryness, okay? As far as using a lot of heat and using a lot of styling agents that can also dry your hair. So it's not just the sulfates that do the bad stuff. It's everything that we do after or not do after, like conditioning. I'm hoping we are conditioning after we do our hair. Please don't tell me we're not conditioning. Please don't tell me we're not conditioning. I know we're conditioning our hair. I know we're conditioning our hair. So with that being said, just be aware of what your hair needs. Remember, I always say be incommunicado with your hair and use the products that work for you. That's really what it comes down to. Use products that work for you. And if the sulfate is working, use it. If the sulfate-free is working for you, then use that. But again, I don't want us to get caught up into certain terms, okay? And in all the buzz as far as, ooh, it's bad and ooh, it's this. In any shampoo, as far as cleaning agent, if you're not doing the right things with it and following up with the right techniques, anything can be drying. It really can. So we just want to be aware of what we're doing to our hair because we're about to live our what? Our best hair life. We are about to live our best hair life. We are not going to be thwarted. So we just want to be aware and we want to get as much information as possible, but we want to settle into the right regimen that works for us. So we're putting a button on shampoos right now and we've covered quite a few. Okay, so if you have any questions, just let me know down below. Or if you have any suggestions, drop that below too, okay? But other than that, that wasn't too bad, right? We were in and out, okay? So I want to thank you so much for dialing in and showing up. I really do appreciate it. I really do. We're going to get into a whole other category, honey. I wonder what category she's talking about. So you got to come back for that. So you already know. It's going to be the same Dolce dial. It's going to be the same Dolce channel. So you come on back. All right. Best